Hey folks, it's Jim from the Movie. So we have a lot of films this summer, both big and small, and I thought today that I'd share with you the 3 blockbusters that I'm looking forward to the most. I did something similar to this, I believe, 2 summers ago, and I thought I'd do it again.
They will hunt you to the edge of the earth for this.
Number 3, Neil Blomkamp's Elysium. Regardless of whatever you thought of his directing debut, District 9, I think many would agree that Blomkamp showed a level of promise and potential in his world building and thematic ideas. Released in the summer of 2009, this late blockbuster within August surprised moviegoers and critics alike, and with a relatively low budget, the film was considered an overall financial hit. Oh, and just because I said that the film had a low budget didn't mean it didn't look absolutely beautiful in a gritty sort of way. Seriously, this movie had a $30 million budget, and it looks better than most blockbusters you'll see in a year. It wasn't quite perfect. The transition from documentary presentation to straightforward narrative wasn't seamless, but those are small nitpicks at best. It was smart, well-made, and thoroughly entertaining without ever becoming preachy to the point where the narrative comes at a complete stop. Elysium looks to do the same, taking place on a desolate Earth where a down-on-his-luck man, played by Matt Damon, is willing to embark on a dangerous mission to Elysium, a luxurious space habitat that could save his life. Blomkamp has expressed that the film will explore themes of immigration, healthcare, and class issues. Interesting, no? Honestly, my YouTube partner Tom and I have been waiting for a sophomore effort from Blomkamp for years, and it's nearly here.
It is pretty cool. Pacific Rim.
Number 2, Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim. The more I think about it, the more I'm positive that no one in this industry has the creative vision of Guillermo del Toro. Not James Cameron, not Peter Jackson, no one. Seriously, if there's one thing you can count on, it's that his films are going to be gorgeous and unique in their own way. He's a sucker for old makeup, but certainly is no snob to visual effects. There's no jadedness with del Toro, and he seems to be a child at heart. What is Pacific Rim? It's giant robots versus giant monsters. That's all you need to know. Yeah, it probably won't be winning an award for most sophisticated movie of the year, but it looks like it could be a complete blast. With this flick, I might get what people see in the Transformers films that for me was never really there. Will it be a hit with moviegoers? Not sure really. It seems like it would have the shallow pleasures of summer popcorn, but it doesn't have the name recognition of Transformers or other properties, even if it's just as absurd. That might hurt it in the long run, financially speaking, of course. Why would I want it to do well? Because just like Elysium, I want originality rewarded.
You've grown stronger here than I ever could have imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits. You can save them. You can save all of them. Rated PG-13.
Number 1, okay, yes, I do like some property flicks and sequels, not just for the sake that they're popular, but for my own particular reasons. My number 1 just so happens to be a big franchise flick just for you, The Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder and written by David Goyer and Christopher Nolan. I've had some reservations about this film from the get-go. I think it's time that the character gets some updating, but I still want it to stick to Superman's moral values and character. He's a beacon of light, one that inspires hope, and for people to be a better race, and after some initial concerns, the footage seems to be giving off that kind of vibe I want. Sure, the color palette isn't as light and vibrant as the first 2 Richard Donner installments starring Christopher Reeve, but it doesn't look oppressively bleak or dark either. Don't get me wrong, the stakes look high and epic, but this doesn't appear to be Superman as done by Batman, and I don't want that either. Superman is no bad boy, and he's certainly no Batman, but I do think it's important that they are trying to make a film that holds up on its own rather than feeling like a tribute to the Richard Donner films like Superman Returns did. So while the approach might be different, it appears to be sticking to who Superman is and what he represents. Unlike The Amazing Spider-Man, in my opinion, there seems to be enough distance from the original to take on an origin story yet again, and there also seems to be considerable differences within plot details and tone, but none that are too jarring or frustrating. Writer David Goyer of Batman Begins and the story concept creator for The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises pitched to Nolan how Superman would be perceived within the modern world, and that seems to be evident here within the marketing. I'm not entirely sure why so many think it's going to be realistic outside of that. It's still a guy from another planet who can do these incredible things that no human can do. You can't necessarily make it realistic, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think this realistic talk is coming simply from Nolan's involvement as a producer and partially as a writer. Look, I can praise Nolan till Jonathan Kent's cows come home, but I am a little concerned that if this film is a success with critics and moviegoers alike, it will be chalked up to Nolan's involvement rather than people like Goyer or hell, even Zack Snyder, a filmmaker that I don't even defend all that often and someone I am somewhat critical of, but I'll still be slightly irritated if his competence and leadership is overlooked completely. That's the thing. I might not like everything that Snyder does, but the guy makes movies, true movie experiences, regardless if they're good or not. For me, when I think of Superman, I do not think of Christopher Nolan, but when he came aboard as a producer, I thought he would acquire an impressive team to take it from there, while also put a strong emphasis on emotion. Everything else, I'm looking at the cast and crew and not Nolan. I don't want to see Superman drive to locations. I want him to fly. I want him to do things that seem impossible. I love the footage, the early snippets of Hans Zimmer's music, and the basic casting aside from Henry Cavill. That isn't a criticism of Cavill, it's just that outside of a few episodes of Tudors, I haven't really seen that much of him, and of course, he has big shoes to fill, and I'm sure he will be compared to Christopher Reeve, perhaps unfairly so. But I am excited to see the Man of Steel back on the screen, as I was several years ago when Superman Returns came out. That, however, didn't turn out as well as I hoped, but you can't keep the world's greatest superhero down for very long. So those are the 3 big blockbuster films that I'm looking forward to this summer. Feel free to share with me what 3 big blockbusters you might be looking forward to, and maybe next time I will share with you 3 small films that are coming out this summer that I'm really looking forward to as well. That's it from the Movie Wine. Have a good day, folks. Until next time.